This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. Police have charged a volunteer firefighter with the arson of the Middleton Fire Station. Saturday night's blaze completely destroyed the brigade's base and vehicles, leaving the local community distraught. Our reporter Louise Hedger joins us now from TFS headquarters. Good evening, Louise. How has the fire service responded to the news?
Well, Joe, late today, the Tasmania Fire Service has confirmed it suspended the 28-year-old volunteer firefighter, who police claim is responsible for destroying his own fire station over the weekend. He is also charged with attempted arson on the building just a week earlier. The latest development is going to come as a shock to the local community, who rallied around the volunteers who put their lives on the line trying to save the station. More than $600,000 worth of damage was caused, but the government has vowed to replace the lost equipment. Now, Joe, the man will face court over the two charges next month and will remain off duty pending the outcome of the proceedings.
OK, thanks for that report, Louise. Louise Hedger joining us there. Hundreds of highly vulnerable teenagers are slipping through the cracks of Tasmania's state care system, according to a new report. An investigation by Anglicare found 10 to 17-year-olds are facing homelessness with very limited options available in a system already under pressure. And it's believed to be contributing to our state's cycle of crime.
I've always felt abandoned and not loved.
These are some of the harrowing stories of Tasmania's vulnerable teenagers. Experiences of 10 to 17-year-olds shaping a new report, revealing a cohort slipping through the cracks.
If you really loved your kids, you wouldn't leave them constantly all the time, and you wouldn't hit their mum.
If you imagine everything that you would expect a family environment to provide for a young person, that's what they don't have.
After a 12-month investigation, Dr. Catherine Robinson made key findings whereby highly vulnerable teenagers were experiencing abandonment in childhood, which then led to continued trauma in adolescence, a yearning for relationship-based care in a system of constant referrals. That system unable to cope with the cohort seen as too hard for current services.
The situation faced by highly vulnerable teens is desperate. These are young people living without adequate care.
Marty Blair is one support worker attempting to provide that care, faced with homeless Tasmanians as young as 10.
They have no belongings with them, so their basic needs aren't being met. They possibly haven't eaten for quite a few days.
She says many face the prospect of overcrowded shelters or couch surfing in dangerous situations.
Young people tend to 13 years of age, there is no accommodation services available for them. 13 years up to 16, there are shelters, but they're short term.
Long-term youth accommodation is among the report's recommendations, alongside a need for mental health and drug detox services and a targeted program in the child protection overhaul to now be considered by government.
The first issue will be to continue to get tough on crime. We want to get tougher on crime. We want the backing of the Parliament with that.
The government's focus on toughened drug and crime legislation criticised by opposition parties.
It's really sad when you have a minister in a government who so fundamentally misreads what the problem is. These kids don't need more punishment. What they need is more love.
We're talking about very vulnerable children who are being let down by a system because they are under-resourced and the services that they need to access simply aren't there.
Hopes turning to the government's recent youth at risk strategy amid calls for clarity on its implementation.
I'm unclear how the key pieces are going to be brought together to make sure that highly vulnerable teens are in fact better off.
Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
An Ashley Youth Detention Centre worker accused of assaulting 2 youths at the facility will have to wait until Friday before hearing his fate. The magistrate today telling Sean David Bartlett she needs more time to consider her verdict.
Sean David Bartlett left in limbo on the second day of his assault charge hearing. Crown prosecutors allege the Ashley youth worker failed to follow guidelines and used unreasonable force when restraining 2 youths at the Deloraine facility last July. The Mole Creek man has previously pleaded not guilty to both assault charges. Today, prosecutors said one of the incidents that saw an inmate scruffed and pulled off a table could have been dealt with another way. They say a code black could have been called to bring more workers to the unit, adding the accused's demeanour and stride when he approached the youth showed he was being forceful. But the defence argued it was a dangerous situation and no detainees were injured when they were restrained. An Ashley worker told the court the teens were going right off prior to the alleged altercation. They were threatening staff. I said, "You need to do something, Sean, otherwise someone is going to get hurt." The magistrate has accepted the fact the youths were agitated, but says she needs more time to decide whether the force was reasonable. She told Mr Bartlett's defence lawyer, "I've picked up quite a bit from watching the CCTV in full and it's certainly not favourable to your client." Mr Bartlett will next appear on Friday afternoon. Monika Dadson, Southern Cross News.
The infectious norovirus has been detected in 2 medical wards at the Royal Hobart Hospital today, with control measures deployed to prevent further outbreak. The hospital has been hit with half a dozen cases over recent months, but had been free of the virus for 2 weeks. It's believed visitors to the hospital contributed to the new outbreak. After 160 years in the same hands, Tasmanian family-run company Reed Fruits is now on the market. The owners say it's time to hand the reins to someone else, welcoming the idea of a foreign buyer.
The Reed family has been producing fruit in Tasmania for 160 years, but today announcing it's time to hang up the boots.
We see tremendous growth opportunity for the business now, and there comes a time, when it's best to step off the treadmill and take it a bit easier.
Tim Reed has worked at Reed Fruits for 50 years, starting when he was a 15-year-old schoolboy, stacking boxes in packing sheds. He says he'd prefer the dynasty stay in Australian hands, but is not ruling out foreign investors.
I think people are a bit xenophobic about China, and you have to understand that China's way down the list in terms of investment in Australia. From wherever the money comes from, I think they're to be encouraged. So we're keeping an open mind on that.
The company going to market in a national and international expression of interest process. If an overseas buyer is interested and the price is over $15 million, the sale needs approval from the Foreign Investment Review Board.
There's no doubt there'll be very significant interest in this business because it's a successful business and it's part of a very successful sector, and I think that's a great story for Tasmania.
Reed Fruits exports its cherries to 20 countries around the world. This year its production accounted for 20% of Australia's cherry exports.
The industry is really booming, and we have no hope of supplying all the inquiries we get for our cherries, particularly from across the Asian countries.
A final decision on a buyer is expected later in the year. Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
The RACT says construction is now underway on its long-awaited revamp of the Freycinet Lodge on the state's east coast. Nestled inside a national park, the original project met stiff opposition before the budding tourism operator changed its plans to calm community concern.
A pod at a lodge and a room with a view. RACT says it's building 9 new accommodation cabins and replacing 6 others. With upgrades to the lodge itself also on the cards, CEO Harvey Lennon is coy on the price tag but says it exceeds $5 million, with 12 new jobs available on completion.
We've come up with a project that is going to be more outstanding and deliver better on the opportunities that Freycinet Lodge and the Freycinet National Park offers than where we started.
That starting point was a plan to push further into the national park. Opposition by lobby groups resulting in a change of tack. RACT's now staying inside its current boundary. The original project was also granted $1 million of the former Cadbury money, and the CEO's confident RACT will still get the cash.
We intend to meet all the criteria that we need to meet in order to access that support.
The development winning praise from both sides of politics. The Greens say it's an example of good corporate citizenship.
This is a signal and a message to other potential private developers who want to go inside our beautiful national parks. The message is stay out. They don't belong to you, they belong to the people of Tasmania, but the people of Tasmania will welcome good developments.
We said at the start that we wanted to make sure that there was community engagement in relation to these opportunities. RSCT had a very strong commitment to that. They've listened to the community.
Work is expected to be completed by early 2018. Andrew McCarthy, Southern Cross News.
Investigations are continuing into a string of suspected dog attacks that occurred on the outskirts of Launceston on the weekend. And a warning, this report does contain distressing images. More than 20 alpacas and sheep were mauled to death across 4 St Leonard's properties. The Launceston City Council says no further attacks have been reported, but the dogs responsible are yet to be identified. Anyone with information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. Pre-packaged water is joining the fight against crime thanks to a new partnership. Casks and bottles from Tasmanian mountain waters will now feature the Crime Stoppers logo. A proportion of sales will also be donated to crime reduction programs. The head of the water company came up with the idea after witnessing illicit drugs being used in a public park.
So we thought, well, we could contact the police about it, or we can roll our sleeves up and get involved. And Crime Stoppers was the obvious choice for us.
This is quite a unique opportunity. We very much rely on the generosity and support of business in order to prosper the Crime Stoppers program throughout Tasmania.
The rebranded Bottles in Blue hit shelves this week. After reaching 8-ball's pinnacle at the Masters World Titles last week, Wayne Stubbs says he's already preparing to defend his crown. The Tasmanian was the best performing Aussie at the tournament and was selected in the World All-Stars team.
Back in his Devonport pool room, Wayne Stubbs sinks ball after ball. A skill he's honed for nearly 4 decades. But now this 54-year-old has become the Masters Messiah, winning 60% of his matches at the over-50s 8-ball championships in England, guiding Team Australia to glory and earning a spot in the world's best 6-man squad.
You got to learn to enjoy. Win, lose or draw, you've got to learn to enjoy it.
He considers it his highest accolade. The task now is to stay on top. Stubbs is looking for a new sponsor ahead of the National Championships in November before having another crack at the international level.
Just back yourself. Positive thoughts all the time. No negative stuff.
To be the best takes plenty of practice. Wayne trains for up to 16 hours per day ahead of big matches. But his key to winning is staying calm and confident. So you always keep a steady hand when picking the pockets. Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
Tasmanian Alkaloids has secured a licence to grow medicinal cannabis. The Westbury-based poppy giant partnering with the Ozcan Group to begin the cultivating process. It's unclear how soon crops will start to be grown, but the company says it's a major milestone in its strategy to become the leading supplier of the drug to Australian patients. Avoca residents can now drink fully treated water straight from the tap after Tazz Water lifted the town's Do Not Consume notice this morning. It follows the construction of a $3 million pipeline from the Fingal treatment plant to the Avoca reservoir. Tazz Water says the pipeline will ensure residents always have safe drinking water. The familiar cries of hear, hear and shame were echoing around Tasmania's lower house today, but this time it was grade 10 to 12 students debating the big issues. Coming together from schools around the state, Youth Parliament 2017 is covering a range of topics including renewable energy, adoption and even opt-out organ donation.
Made up topics. They're actual things that affect Tasmanians. So I think for them to express their opinions and how they think we should solve them is really important.
The Parliament rises on Friday after a number of recommendations are presented to government.
Richie Porte's former coach has revealed the cycling star's mother had a premonition about the horrific crash that ended the Tasmanians' Tour de France campaign. Porte is recovering in hospital, but still had the strength to thank all those who have supported him during this tough time.
Battered, but by no means broken.
It's overwhelmingly good, that people are so supportive and really do care. So I can't say thank you enough to all those people, and it means the world to me. So thank you very much.
This is the vision that's now been viewed around the world. The moment Tasmanian Richie Porte crashed out of the Tour de France in horrific fashion.
I remember I came into the corner. It wasn't like we're going too fast or anything like that, but I just remember I locked the back wheel up and that was it.
For his former coach, Mark Matthews, it was devastating to watch. He says Porte's mother, Penny, had a premonition about the crash.
She left the room on the descent and she's gone back in the room and her husband actually said, he's out, he's had a crash. And she said, I knew it.
After seeing the crash, I'm lucky also that I walked away. I've come away with the injuries that I have.
Porte's parents, Ian and Penny, have told Matthews that the Tour Down Under champion will now be transferred to a sports hospital in Monaco to continue his recovery from a fractured collarbone and pelvis. Expected to be off the bike for around 6 weeks. It remains uncertain whether he'll compete in the World Championships in October.
Yeah, look, I don't think I'll be back on my bike for a good while now.
But Matthews says don't count the Tassie Battler out just yet.
He says that he'll be on the bike by the end of the year, racing for the BMC colours, and which he will do. He's contracted to them he's just signed a new contract with BMC, and he'll be itching to get back onto the bike.
To TSL now, and Lauderdale will be without star midfielder Jordan Roberts for the next 5 matches after the club's appeal was thrown out at last night's tribunal hearing. Roberts was suspended for 6 matches for rough conduct following this tackle on Stuart Williams during the side's round 13 match against Launceston at Windsor Park. Roberts will be eligible to return into the side in round 20, the last game of the TSL season. The state's best young cricketers are preparing to test themselves against some world-class opposition, with a 14-man squad of under 17 and 19 development players departing for an overseas tour.
It's a 14-day trip. There'll be 4 one-day games, 1 T20 game and 2 red ball games that will be played across different parts of Sri Lanka.
The players will be led by Cameron Boyce and Bo Webster, who will be taking on mentoring roles.
It's obviously a great opportunity for myself as well to get over to Sri Lanka and play some cricket this early on the pre-season. I think it'll be really beneficial for me heading into the season, and as Shan said, just a mentor role to those young batters.
The group takes off on Sunday. With more and more women taking up the sport of boxing here in Tasmania, a promising young group of fighters are leading the way and proving that the sky's the limit. We recently caught up with the Latrobe Boxing Club's Maddie Holland after she returned from Europe with some shiny new silverware.
Lightning quick with her hands and full of ambition.
When you work hard and put the effort in, yeah, you'll get somewhere.
Something 17-year-old Latrobe boxer Maddie Holland is learning firsthand, recently returning with silverware from a 3-week trip to the UK and Denmark, representing the female Australian under-19 squad at the Haringey and Selby Boxing Cups with fellow Tasmanians Danny Clayton and Gemma Howarth.
They had a successful time as well. I believe Gemma got 2 gold medals and Danny collected 1 and a silver, I think. So, yeah, no, they had a great time.
Maddie only took up the sport 3 years ago for a bit of extra fitness. Now she holds an Australian title. Currently training 4 nights a week, she'll look to defend it early next year before working towards something even more special.
The Olympics are coming up in 2020, so I'd really want to try hard and go for that.
I think that's a realistic aim for her, yeah.
For now, Holland is one of many talented Tasmanians, helping to pave the way for other aspiring young female fighters around the state.
As more girls do it, I think other girls are jumping on the opportunity to get in there and have a crack.
She's really good. We often find with the girls that they're much less complaining than the boys. They just heads down, bum up and train really hard, and that's why she's progressed as fast as she has. The girls probably now outweigh the number of boys that we've got in the club.
Good evening. After some fairly cool overnight temperatures, Hobart and Devonport reached 12 today and Launceston and Burnie 13. 14 the high on King Island, while Ross, Cressy and Fingal all shared the low of -5. Few showers too over the west far south and through Bass Strait. Flinders Island and Wynyard 13 degrees, Strawn, Bushy Park and Lowhead 12, Campania, St Helens, Friendly Beaches and Grove on 11. Lyawini reached 5 today. Low-level clouds sat over southern parts of the mainland along with over the New South Wales and Western Australian coasts. Some high cloud over central Australia under a high pressure system. Closer in and patchy low cloud streamed over the state from the west today. Tomorrow, the high over New South Wales extends a ridge over Tasmania. A cold front crosses the southwest coast of WA. Winds from a northerly direction ranging from 10 to 15 knots over the north and east and inland to 20 to 30 knots over western waters. Road weather alert, current for all districts, a black ice warning once again, and a strong wind warning for waters between Low Rocky Point and Sandy Cape. A partly cloudy 12 degrees in Hobart after 1 overnight, -3 for Geeveston, warming up to 12 and a top of 10 for Bothwell after a -7. For Launceston, -3 to a top of 12, morning fog and frost, 13 for Devonport, morning fog and frost for Cressy, -5 and a top of 11. For Burnie tomorrow, partly cloudy and 14, 13 for Strawn. A bit of sun over Curry on King Island, 14 the top. St Helens tomorrow, morning frost, partly cloudy and fine, 13, -2 for Swansea, 13 later and 12 the top for Orford. On Thursday, morning frost and possible valley fog with showers developing over all areas. Wet weather again on Friday, heavy falls over the north and northwest and showers for the west and south on Saturday, decreasing during the afternoon. Showers in Perth and Sydney tomorrow, partly cloudy for Adelaide, a foggy start for Melbourne and sunny weather forecast for Brisbane, Adelaide and Darwin. Mostly clear in Hobart, 6 degrees, just 3 in Launceston at the moment and 4 right now in Devonport. And for those of us that have been able to see through the cloud, we've been able to notice that wonderful full moon in our skies of late. And Jo, it had me howling with delight.
Howl away, Murph. Thank you very much. That's all from the news team for now. Thanks for joining us. We will see you, of course, throughout the evening with updates. Bye for now.